But since we have Mike on the stream, I actually wanted to, real quick, before we move on to our Mandalorian review, ask him about the Disney investors call. That was a freaking bombshell. Apparently, some callers got on the line with Bob Iger and started calling him out on Disney's various woke practices and their mishandling of beloved franchises and stuff like that. So, Mike, I wanted to get your take on that investors call. Can you kind of give us a little primer about what the setup was and what happened on it?
Sure. So I covered it live. I was listening to it live, and I was covering it live on YouTube on VR's channel. And the call began. There was three components to that hour and however many minutes. The start off went really great. Like when I mean, as a critic of this company, I was really actually pleasantly surprised by what I saw. It was a produced video shot in Orlando featuring Bob Iger, and it talked about the history of the company, Americana, the attractions. They had the announcement that they were going to do the live action Moana thing, but I don't care really about that. But I'm just saying the overall that first component, I'm like, wow, Disney's listening and they're going to get back on track and they're going to focus on things that make money. And as a harsh critic of this company, that first segment when it ended, I'm like, wow, good job. And frankly, I'm going to be blunt. In an age where I don't see a lot of white people on any commercials, I'm like, wow, I've seen more people in this Disney produced segment than I have on anything recently, especially anything that's Disney, or ABC Studios and all that. So that first component, I thought, wow, we've got a company that's actually going to focus on what they need to do. Get back to making people happy, get back to the family experience, get back to the attractions and all that. Then we went to the second component. And in the second component of that investor call, you had the proposals being submitted, and there were some proposals brought forward, and a couple of them that have not gotten a lot of attention on YouTube and almost no attention on the media were investor proposals that essentially would have set the company off of a what we might call woke agenda, away from the politics, getting it back. And there were formal proposals that were submitted. Now, of course, they were voted down. And the general counsel, who is the secretary of the corporation and represents the board's view, said we recommend voting against it because the vote happens by a percentage of the shareholders, and corporations like BlackRock, who are investors, have so many more votes that they drown out people like me that are an individual Disney stockholder. Hell, they even drown out people like Ike Perlmutter that has $3 billion worth of stock. In any event, so that second component was really where the tone changed and it shifted, because you had Disney being called out for their business practices in China, for turning away from the vision of Walt being family oriented, and turning the company into a direction that was very politicized. You heard that in that second segment, and then it got voted down. Well, then we went to the third component, and already the tone had shifted. The tone had shifted from like, holy hell. But then the people got voted down, and then you figure it's going to go back to milk and candy and Oreo cookies. And the third component is where the retail calls happened. And the retail calls are where the individual investor calls came in. And sure, there were like two or three that were either innocuous. The last one was pretty pro-Disney. But man, oh man, those other calls that got in, there was one that was kind of like, temperature kind of pretty warm, and the other two were pretty boiling. And the one caller from New York, literally, you could hear the passion in his voice that expressed so many of the things that say we've heard from your channel here in the Salty Nerd Podcast, other YouTube channels, other places around the globe. You heard that passion come through about how he wanted the company to turn away from things. And frankly, he even used the G word, which rhymes with Broomer. He used the G word. And you could visibly see Iger get shaken. Like he was trying to hold it together, but you could tell on that phone call by listening to him. In fact, towards the end, before that last caller came, you heard Bob say, before we wind down this call, let's go ahead and talk about, and that you could tell he's looking around the room and he's shutting the thing down. To me, there are two takeaways that I took from this, or maybe three. Let's go with three. One is that we're not the only ones that are upset. The retail investor, the average person calling in from Reno, Nevada, New York, or whatever, they're just as concerned as people like you and your channel, Matt, and your colleagues have been for years calling this stuff out. So that kind of concern is everywhere, because for them to get through, They had to get through the screeners. It would be a lot like, for example, me trying to get through Paramount and trying to say, yeah, I want to talk to Alex Kurtzman, tell him what a great job he's did with Star Trek Discovery. Meanwhile, we all know what Mexican Ironman's really going to say if I get Kurtzman on the phone. And so that kind of thing had happened. So you have screeners that are supposed to block that stuff, but these people are getting through. What I found incredibly alarming and disturbing was the fact that he equated Disney's woke and progressive political agenda. He equated it with World War II, and he equated it with the civil rights movement. And I find that completely offensive as an American, as a minority, as a human being, that he would put that flag in the sand, essentially try to portray himself that he was essentially like almost like a Winston Churchill of woke. Is what I've been saying for about a week, because that's how he put it out there. He says, you know, when we fought for things in World War II and the civil rights movement, well, this is what we're fighting for now. And I was just like, you're crazy. The last takeaway that I took from it is that he conflated the relationship between Disney as a corporation and Reedy Creek as what should be a governmental body. And he conflated those two things. And that was a huge mistake, because not just 3 to 4 hours later, the investigation that kind of started with the state of Florida escalated, and now there's an independent investigation going on into potential fraud, because that investor call wasn't off the cuff. That's an SEC sanction. That's an SEC covered event. It's a public statement. He might as well have been in a courtroom and had his hand up and swearing on a Bible. So that's what I took out of it. And you know, it's a bit disappointing. I don't know what Iger's going to do, because he may say that he's woke one place, he may be woke, he may not be. I don't know. But the reality is that they've got $10 to $12 billion lost in Disney Plus. They bought Fox, and they haven't done crap with that. That was 66 billion. They bought Lucasfilm, Marvel. Both of those IPs are imploding in value, and they've announced that they've got to cut $5.5 billion immediately and get rid of 7,000 people. This is a company in trouble, and so I don't know how long they're going to be able to hang on to this woke stuff, because the stock price, Matt, is the same more or less today as it was back in November when my boy Chapek got escorted out the door at an Elton John concert on a Sunday night.
Yeah, it is interesting that a lot of people are looking at Iger as he's going to be the savior of Disney, but we have to remember that he's the one who put all these problems in motion and then bailed, and now he's back to make them even worse. Real quick, we got a chat I wanted to highlight from Lucasfilm Girl. It says, Ahsoka will be a Les Fest. I don't know, maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I'll be tuning in if it is.
I want to see Sabine get some flick on or something. That actress is very attractive.
God.
Hey guys, if you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and comment below on your favorite video as well. That goes a long way with helping us boost our channel and get out there in front of more people, and it lets YouTube know that we're doing something right. And if you want to catch us live, we go live 2 times a week, once on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time and on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. So join us there in the chat. We will see you on the live stream. Stay salty.